Second, testing 1, 2, 3. Making sure I've got this going. Okay, I think we're good to go, and we are. Yeah, we're all set up.
You're live.
Yeah, we're live.
Well, we still had to go through two of your games of the Victoria Open. I wanted to start with the one that didn't end in a quick draw
Okay.
because we get to see the whole game through the end. Actually, you did really good in both games. You got the upper hand quite early. You got very nice positions, and that was really good to see. You went through the opening phase well, pretty well. How did you feel about your opening play in this game?
Well, I would have to see it. I can't quite remember, but I believe, is this a game where my opponent made a lot of knight moves on the king side? He kind of moved his knights around a lot, trying to maneuver. Was that this game?
That kind of happened in both, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, because
at some point,
I think I looked over this game with him afterwards, and we analyzed it together. So I have
okay.
some of his thought process that I can comment on later. But yeah, I would have to see the opening to remember.
Okay, this is against Simon Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He played Bishop C4. I guess that you encountered this on the internet a lot.
This is very, very popular at around my rating level. A lot of people play this, so I've definitely seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good to know because it's not threatening at all. The bishop on c4 is actually well placed at this stage. I mean, if at some point he decides he's going to play d4, well, maybe that's fine because you get kind of saucing. But most of the time, I see that if white plays an early bishop c4, then he doesn't go d4 because it's not truly aiming for an open Sicilian. And well, you put the question on the pawn immediately. That's good. Knight c3, knight c6. Well, at this point, it might be good for him to play d4. And well, at least it's going to be pretty normal. But he goes for h3.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. Actually, after a6, which is perfectly fine, it's a very common move in the Sicilian. You're going to play e6 and queen c7 or before. The thing with this bishop on c4 is that it's kind of misplaced because it's easily threatened by b5, e6, and d5 at some point. But now he plays d4. What do you think about this change of plans?
Well, first of all, I wasn't really sure what his plan was with h3. I thought that was just too precautionary, too prophylactic. I thought I pretty much gained equality after h3. But I was actually expecting him to play d4 at some point. A lot of players will still play d4 even if they play bishop c4. I've noticed.
That's interesting because it seems like they have nothing to do with each other. Especially if you play d4 before, you still have bishop c4 as an option. Now you kind of lose flexibility. That's interesting to know. Now he's playing an open Sicilian with a very strange h3. That's included, and it's not clear what that's doing. So you followed with b5 immediately. I really like this because it's very energetic. He has to go back, or else play d5, which is the move that I saw that the computer suggests, which is pretty strange. I think no human player would go for d5 here with the bishop, with the light square bishop hanging. The most natural, I would guess, it would be to go back. But then there's also before. I don't know. It's pretty difficult to play this with white. I'll be expecting something like, I don't know, bishop e2 maybe. What do you plan to do here?
I'm trying to remember. Here I would give good consideration to b4. So I was just looking at b4, b5. I think I'm better at the end of that because after we take the knight and he takes our knight, we can take on e4, and I think we can also snatch up the pawn on c6 if it goes that way.
Say before now.
Yeah.
If you take on d5, you were saying knight takes d5 or knight
no,
takes e4?
I was looking at I was looking if he played d5. I was looking at this. I
Okay.
thought we would be fine here, even if we can't take this pawn. I'm thinking that we can probably get this pawn without too much difficulty.
Yeah, this guy is falling.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and
You're better there.
yeah. So I mean, I didn't really look at this too much. I thought he's already lost a tempo here, and I'm kind of happy just alone with that. So I didn't really calculate this
Yeah,
position.
and it's a good decision because at the very least you're just taking on d4 and playing bishop b7, and you won a couple of tempi. It's better compared to standard Sicilian. He already played h3 and he went back with the bishop from c4
Yeah.
to e2, so you should be more than fine.
Mm-hmm.
So after b5, he entered a really strange variation. He decided to give away the leg square bishop, and that's always dangerous if you give away the pair of bishops too early and the position opens up like this. I mean, if he's not getting any kind of compensation, for example, a lead in development, then he's going to be in real positional danger, and that's actually what happened here. You took on c4.
Yeah, the problem was that the two sets of double
I'm
pawns
fine.
were a pain in the ass to deal with. The whole rest of the
Yeah,
game.
but it takes, queen takes d1, knight takes d1, b takes c4. We're talking about these 2 pounds,
Yeah.
the c-pounds.
Well, the two sets of double pawns. I think I end up with two sets in this game.
Yeah, he plays e takes f6, e
Yeah.
takes f6. The one thing is that you are pawn up, so
Yes,
even
that's
if they are
true.
doubled.
Yeah, but it was so much babysitting of the pawns, and I ran.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult to maneuver. It was a real pain in the ass to play this, but I did enjoy the extra pawn.
Yeah, you have here not only because the extra pound, that's important of course, but there's a feature of this position that gives you a huge advantage. Maybe if this wasn't present, then the couple of double pounds would kind of uh, make it more difficult for you to prove that your material advantage is worth something. But thanks to the fact that you have the light square bishop, he doesn't. He's in a lot of trouble here. In the long run, he's going to have a lot of problems on the light squares. Actually, the center is wide open now. At some point, he's probably going to have to play c3 as it happened in the game. And then you're going to get control of d3, e4, and he's going to have a whole set of light squares, which are going to be pretty much in your hands. So he's not doing fine at all here. In spite of your double pounds, as you can support them, you're going to get control of very important. I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you.
No, I no, I was just
You
gonna
were saying.
say, yeah, like they're kind of, these two pawns get annoying to defend the whole game, but as you kind of said, like we're kind of controlling a lot of squares already. There's like a impenetrable
Yeah.
column. It's kind of funny. It's kind of a funny position.
Yeah, and the way you played it, it was kind of a model of how to use the pair of bishops against bishop and knight, because you really control the knights very well here. You deprive them of, well, pretty much any squares. Bishop d6. Well, here it's uh, oh, there was computer analysis and um, in this game. Could that be possible? uh, yeah, the computer says it's an inaccuracy, and I don't agree. I mean, I don't think you're losing any advantage. Of course, the computer always gives probably the best or close to the best variation, but bishop d6, I don't see how it can be a bad move. Knight e3, bishop e6, and here he finally played c3. Um,
Yeah, and I was kind of expecting c3. I thought c3 was, it looked like a pretty good option for white, kind of, blockading our pawns and taking two squares away from, two outposts away from our knight. But the funny thing is, when I went over the game with my opponent afterwards, he said he actually wasn't really happy having played c3, but I thought it was certainly fine.
Well, it's kind of necessary. I mean, if he doesn't, you're going to play knight d4, and he's going to have to answer some questions here because he can't live with that knight on d4. And if he takes, well, then you're going to get these 2 pawns on d4 and c4, and you will be crushing him. So it's kind of necessary. I know where he's coming from. I mean, I can understand that he wasn't happy about it because now he loses even more control over the light squares. D3 is going to be a long-term problem, and for the looks of it, he knew he was going to face these difficulties here. It's bad news for him because he has this dark square bishop, so putting every pawn on dark squares is it's not a good deal for him. I know that in the short run, it doesn't look like much of a problem, but uh, just a few moves later, these light squares are going to be very noticeable. And you're taking away every outpost a knight of his could have. And it's pretty annoying. It's very difficult to know what White is going to do, how he's going to develop. And well, there's always an upside to this kind of double pawns. I know they are theoretically weak and they are kind of easy to attack because they are double and isolated. Actually, they also give you a couple of open files, especially the V file, as White can't contest a V file. So there's always an upside to them too. Actually, these 2 pounds, I I can't dislike them here because they gave you so much central control over important squares on d3 and d4, and they give you the open b file. So as long as you can keep them over the board, they're going to be very annoying for your opponent too. And that's kind of curious. Well, you castle, knight d2, knight a5. Is this what annoyed you? You had to play knight
Well,
a5.
I kind of knew that was, I saw that a few moves ago, that was going to be necessary. I think I briefly toyed with the idea of going to e5, I think, but I think I just saw, after f4, I just didn't see anything.
Yeah, I took a look at knight e5 too, just because it's a centralizing
Yeah.
move. So if it actually works, it might be better. But yeah, I agree with you. F4 is kind of a mess, and worst of all, it's an unnecessary mess. So I guess that knight a5 is more clear. You don't have to deal with this kind of crazy variations. If you have a stable positional advantage, you don't have to go into those kind of complicated things. At least it's the only way to keep fighting for the advantage. This doesn't seem to be the case. You have, well, pretty much every minor piece of whites under control. I know the knight on a5 is on the rim, but uh, this pawn has such a restricting activity here that is so important. I mean, for this knight on a5, he has a knight on d2 and a bishop on c1 that are completely blockaded. So it's a good deal. Knight e4, looking for some activity, but there doesn't seem to be anything. f4, f5, that's good. The other pawn is going to go to f6, or maybe you're going to go h6, but you are taking away every single square from him. Rook a d8.
Oh yeah, I kind of like this move, where I thought this was interesting. Just again because I'm not sure if a year ago I might have moved my bishop.
Back.
Yeah, and I think like, I'm not sure. Maybe I would have made this move a year ago, but it's very possible that I might have moved this bishop somewhere back, just preserving the bishop pair. I think now I think I might evaluate the strengths and the weaknesses of knights and bishops a little bit better now. I mean, I am getting, if he does take, I'm getting rid of the double pawn. I do have this weakness on e5, but I'm controlling this file with the rook. I'm up a pawn, and I will have a good dark squared bishop. So I thought if he took the bishop, I have a lot more activity. I'm up a pawn, and yeah. What do you think of this position?
Yeah, I agree. I like the fact that you were very flexible here. I mean, you were clearly playing for the pair of bishops, but you understood that in this position you could part with one of the bishops and still transform the advantage and keep it in another form. And that's important because sometimes we set one fixed objective, one aim, and we don't notice such opportunities of transformations. And this was a good opportunity.
Yeah,
It's much more natural to play rook a.
Yeah, I also thought that this wasn't the best bishop. I mean, I am blocked by two of my own pawns. I know that there is some opportunity to go on this diagonal, but we're talking about like two moves. And so I really didn't think this was the most powerful bishop in the world.
No, okay. Actually, at this point it isn't, but the prospects for this bishop are just great. As you said, it might seem like it takes a lot of time, and well, it does. But once you get to play bishop c8 and bishop b7, then he's in huge trouble. I mean, a bishop on e4 or d3 too much to bear. I like the fact that you allowed it. I like the fact that you looked at the pieces that were going to be left over the board rather than the ones that are currently there, and that's something we talked about. So I'm proud that you saw that. Yeah, it's more important to take into account what pieces are going to be left rather than trying to hold on to a certain type of advantage. And you did well here. Rook a8, I really like that. Well, he went back. He wasn't sure about taking e6. Did you talk about this with your opponent in the post?
I forget that exact particular move, but I think I think he was kind of baiting me into moving. He was kind of hoping I would do it, and when I didn't, he kind of gave up on that plan. I think he didn't want to undouble my pawns, so he just kind of regrouped.
Yeah. Yeah, probably he was counting on the two pair of double pawns. He might have had to go knight takes e6. It's going to be very difficult to cope with this guy. F6, which I like conceptually speaking. From a conceptual point of view, I really like F6. You're taking away by pretty much any square, and that could be an outpost for a knight, and that's great.
Well, and I think I had,
But
I think if I remember correctly, it was twofold. It was, yeah, it was to restrict even more squares, but I think it was also to get my king into the center of the board. We're kind of in an end game now. I wanted to get some king activity because I could envision a lot of trades happening. You know, if we double up the rooks and so on, I was trying to get some king activity.
yeah, that's another merit of F6. You get to play king F6 really quickly, and the two bishops are defended, and you can still hope to maneuver and make this bishop very effective. Actually, F6 is perfect fine. He played rook E1. I thought that he had to go for some kind of counterplay with knight H4 instead.
Um, G6.
G6. Yeah, I was looking at this, and I think it doesn't work for white, but he should be trying to
Ooh.
complicate matters like this. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, well,
that's
I
scary.
guess you have to. And after taking maybe F5, it's kind of messy. I don't think it works for white, but it's rather complicated, at least from a human perspective. Uh, Maybe if you ask Stockfish, nothing's going to happen here. But I was kind of scared looking at this because I guess you have to go back and F
Well, what
takes
about
G,
Bishop F7?
Bishop F7. Yeah, that could be true. Torn between taking with the knight on G4 or taking with the H pawn. I think I'm going to go with the knight, just because the knight on E3 is just so clumsy there. It doesn't let bring this bishop out.
Possibly G5?
G5 maybe. I might have to give this check on H6.
I think I'd be happy, be okay with that trade. You know,
On knight
yeah,
F3.
King G7.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, King G7, knight takes, rook takes, or king takes maybe. Yeah, I have to go back. And yeah,
I
it's
really
still
like
a
my
clear
pawns
pawn
after
down.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you still have a clear pawn up. So yeah, I think nothing of this works for white. Even HG isn't that great.
Yeah, I still might play G5
Um,
here.
yeah, you could still play G5, or even you could even hmm, I was thinking about King G7, but you have F takes G6, H takes G6, and maybe knight F5 check, and this bishop is falling. Uh, yeah, G5, go back. Yeah,
Possibly Rook D3.
yeah, Rook D3, and you're dominating here. Yeah, Bishop F7 might be, uh, yeah, it might be enough. Even F takes G, H takes G doesn't look so impressive. Uh, you're better in any case. I thought that he had to go for something like this because um, otherwise, the position is just so sad. I mean, it kind of worked for him in the end because he got a draw, but he just way worse throughout. I think he has to play for something like this and try to open up the king side to make the knights work together and try to get something. I don't think he has any going for him, but he has to look for complications. Um, but rookie one, like in the he actually doesn't achieve anything. You just play king f7 and you get restricting both knights. I really like how you never let them into play. Knight h4, this, and now, well, g4, I think it's imperative. I still think nothing works for him that well. Knight f1, it's a little bit sad.
Yeah, I didn't really understand a lot of these knight moves. I thought he's very, very slowly just giving up tempi, and I'm slowly consolidating my pieces in the center. Um, I thought he was wasting a lot of time with these knight moves.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say that he wanted to take the bishop
Yeah,
out
he
and he
did.
didn't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he played very natural. You doubled up on the D file, but didn't you think of really, improving this bishop now that you get a chance to do it?
Um, Not really. I wasn't really thinking of. So are you thinking to go to e4?
Yeah, or at least now we have the bishop on the h1 a8 diagonal, so at any time we can go bishop e4, bishop d. Now the bishop is a different animal. To prevent this, he has to go with the knight to g3, but the knight is clearly misplaced on g3. It does nothing apart from preventing bishop e4, and it's a very poor. So I guess bishop d5 was a good option. It might be easier than rook d7 in the sense that this bishop is keying your whole strategy, and now you get a chance to get him in the game. Still, rook d7 is perfectly fine. I mean, it's not like um, it's not like he has some king moves or anything. But I really like the idea of putting the bishop into play because it contributes to restricting him even further, and that makes your life easier too. Um, he played bishop e3. He still is a long way from untangling. I mean, his pieces are just so poorly coordinated. This bishop and this knight are constantly stepping into each other's way, and the knight on h4, where I don't even know what he's doing.
Yeah, I think I told him that I thought a useful move for him in many cases would have been king f2, just bringing his king into the game, kind of like how I did. Um, but he agreed that that probably would have been useful.
Yeah, it couldn't hurt. I mean, having the king near the center here should be optimal, especially because you have to deal with a probable invasion from your rooks. So having the king of an f2, allowing for rook e2, having it defended, uh, it's always useful. Still, his main problem is that can't coordinate his pieces here because of your pawns. Actually, your pawns are the the guilty ones. I mean, this is a real problem. This triangle is just critical for white.
Yeah, this
It
was
doesn't.
probably a very annoying game to play as white.
Yeah, having no square for your pieces isn't really comfortable for him. I mean, he only has available d2 and e3 for both his knight and his bishop. His bishop is horrible by any account. And yeah, he has to wait for what you decide to do. Knight f3. Now you went for rook d3. Perfectly fine. You always have the option of playing bishop d5 and improving this bishop. But you have it at any time now, so this is more than okay. I really like this
um,
cautious approach.
well, this was a funny move, and I I talked to him about this after the game. This was largely a psychological move, and just to okay, so I made this move because I was kind of struggling on how to continue here because I really wanted to get my I forget if it was at this point or it might have been later, but I really wanted to get my knight onto e4 at some point. And I was looking at a pathway to do that. I forget what the best way to do it was. Is this the fastest way?
But,
Uh,
um,
it's hard to get there. How can we get there? You have to go to this square.
well, there are 3 moves. You're 3 moves away from getting 3-4 with
Yeah,
this knight.
how am I missing it? What am I missing? 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was trying to do this, but the
2b7.
the problem was I'm blocking this bishop, right? The defending of this piece, um, and I couldn't figure a way to do that maneuver. So I partly went here to give myself more time to think. It was kind of a nothing move, and I thought that White didn't really have too. I thought the game was the ball was still in my court. I went here partly to give myself more time to think and just give him the opportunity to make a mistake. But I also went there as partly a psychological move, just to give him something to think about. About maybe I'll come in here and do something, which I really didn't have any intention to do because nothing is going to work. But it actually worked because he actually, when I moved here, he actually thought I was planning something here. So it actually
He
worked
told
out.
you so after.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bishop F8. I really liked it because, well, Bishop is out of harm's way. uh, so, uh, what do you say of the psychological move? I really like it because he can't move a finger anyway. So, pretty much every move that he makes isn't improving his position at all. In fact, he made a kind of quiet move. He wants, well,
Oh,
clearly
I
wants
remember
to.
the ending of this game now with that move.
uh, And you played, well, another move, it's more like a maneuver that I
Oh,
really
yeah,
like.
this was very intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. You couldn't go bishop d5 here immediately because of knight e1, and
Hmm.
the rook is suddenly trapped. So this is the way. I really liked it because uh, this is the piece that is left to be activated. And you're right, this is a very good idea, but still the pawn,
Hmm.
yeah, is going to be undefended. Maybe you can even get away with going for rook c8, knight b7, knight d6. Who knows? Maybe even that works. But this approach I really like because your bishop is a monster and he can do nothing about it. Bishop b7, and so annoying was the bishop that he immediately went wrong. He played knight a2, which I really don't understand.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, he gave you some reason for that knight a2.
Um, I asked him about it because I didn't understand it. I think his only explanation was like he was just trying to reconfigure his pieces somehow. I'm not sure the exact move he was thinking of. Maybe bringing up this other knight. I don't know. The knight on a2 seems completely terrible. I think we, I think he was just whoops. I think he was just having trouble figuring out what to play. It's hard to find moves for white.
Yeah, his system was overloaded, I guess.
I think I told him like still just king f2 seems so natural to me. Like I'd probably play that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah. at this point he has to stand still and see what you're going to do. You still have ways of pressuring him at minimal or no risk. You can go bishop c6 and rook b8 because you also have this b file, which can be very annoying. And then you might defend this pawn. I don't know. Yeah, and the difficult thing is just to bring your knight back. That's true. Maybe you, at this point you can choose a longer route. With the rook on e1, you can get away with playing bishop d5 just to bring the knight back, but still you have to be careful with these knight e1 ideas. But you still have a lot of very annoying moves on reserve, and you can also start expanding because you took away, well, pretty much every central square that could work for his pieces. Maybe now you have to start expanding on the king side. That's
I was
another
considering
idea.
that as a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Because after h6, he's probably going to have to play h4, and that's an additional weakness he has to take care about.
Yeah, and I figure
So
I've got a 4-3 pawn majority, and I can kind of make use of that double pawn.
yeah, and if these pawns really start advancing at some point, then he's going to get steamrolled here. If this knight has to go back, well, everything's going to fall. Well, nothing of this was an actual problem for you because you went for knight a2 and you captured the e3 bishop. And yeah, it's two pieces for the rook, and it's two very strong
Yeah,
pieces
and the
for the
funny
rook.
thing is, I didn't even see this at first. Like he played knight a2, and I probably, I don't know how long I thought, probably at least a few minutes, and I was just deciding what to do. I think I was probably still planning a route for my knight, how we're going to get here. I was probably, looking at all the different ways to do that. But and then I just realized, wait a second, yeah, I can just take here. And then once I saw that, I was really, really happy because it's a lot easier to play after that because we're already a pawn up now. So he was pretty upset that he made this mistake.
Yeah, and it's the thing is that every possible entrance for the rooks is controlled, and your minor pieces are just way too strong. If you get to bring the knight into play, then it's going to be over very soon. He played knight f3, and now you took the decision to chop that knight. You just took it. And that's something you gave some consideration to just going rook takes b2, for example, or did you take immediately
No,
on
no. Of
f6?
course, I gave consideration to it. I think because the middle game required a lot of thinking. There was a lot of positional maneuvering going on that I don't think I had a whole lot of time at this point. I don't have the score sheet in front of me, but if I had to guess, I think I might have only have had maybe, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes left. And I just thought, we're already up the exchange and pawn. And I thought there can't be any harm in trading down here.
Yeah, kind of a simplification issue.
Are you
You
thinking?
could
Are you
argue
thinking
that.
bishop here?
I'm sorry, I'm thinking what?
Oh, were you thinking that bishop e4 might have been better?
No, not right now because the rook is
Oh yeah, sorry, you're
hanging
right.
back.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that bishop takes f3. Well, you could argue that it's a simplification measure. It's changing extra pieces, and you're going to impose your two minor pieces on on white's rook.
Well, I
The
thought
thing
it,
is,
it, it
this
also will
bishop,
misplace his. I thought it would worsen his rook position if he takes with the rook.
yeah, that's true. He has to take with the rook, and it's misplaced. The thing is, it's kind of a shame to give up your arguably best minor piece here. This bishop is just in coordination with the rook. It's very strong because it's indirectly eyeing g2, and this knight on f3 has no perspectives. I mean, you're still controlling every possible active square for that knight. So I really like rook takes b2 because I think it makes your task a lot easier, actually. Not only because the fact that this bishop is so much stronger than that knight, but also because this bishop gives you the opportunity to keep both rooks controlled. For example, now you get the chance of playing bishop e4 and block one of the open files. And if white doesn't get to coordinate his rooks and to bring them to the seventh and eighth file, he's as good as lost. I mean, he's not going to recover from this. So if you get to play something like bishop e4, if he goes to rook d1, you can even go bishop d3.
Yeah,
He has no perspective.
yeah, I totally hear you. I do think this was largely influenced from how much time I had left. I think I was scared of more pieces being on the board and there being more opportunities for myself to blunder. I don't want to say that's the only reason I did that, but it was definitely one of the big considerations. Because I was getting like I might have only had 15 minutes here.
Yeah, you had to take some quick decisions.
I was just kind of
yeah,
I was scared of blundering by leaving an extra piece on the board.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes it happens. It seems like maybe an easier option because you're exchanging a piece, and it actually makes your life harder, and you don't really have the time to sort it out and, and actually evaluate it. Because, yeah, I think that if you had more time to consider it, you might have thought that this bishop of b7
Oh yeah,
was just way too
I
strong.
would say it's likely. I would say it's likely that I wouldn't have taken if I had my full starting time. If the game started in that position, I would very likely just take the pawn first.
Yeah. Well, that said, you're still winning by a large margin here. Actually, the rooks shouldn't be able to activate
And
themselves to take rook
I
d1.
knew he's going to play rook d1, and I know what he's planning to do, but for some reason I don't know. For some reason it worked anyway. I knew what his only threats were. He's good bringing both rooks down, and I saw it all coming, but for some reason it was largely due to time pressure. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's time for some prophylactic thinking, I guess. His only chance, his only hope is to coordinate the two rooks and
Yeah.
actually create some threats. So what do you think you should have done here?
Well, I'm so greedy though. I'm so materialistic.
Uh,
I mean, if I really wanted to play safe, I think I could have brought the rook down to possibly one of these squares, possibly bringing the knight in. It doesn't really do anything immediately, but it does allow us to defend in some ways. I think there were a lot of ways that I could have played more defensively. I might have not have given. I didn't give the rooks. I thought what his plan was, but I didn't give him. I still didn't give him enough credit. I didn't give the two rooks enough credit for how dangerous that they could be.
yeah, a way of looking at it is if he doesn't get to coordinate the rooks, he's completely lost. And once you stop both rooks, then the pawns are falling. These two pawns are condemned here. For example, you could still go with your plan with knight b7. I like your idea of bringing the rook back too because it's in the same spirit. You're just trying to control his rooks, control the entry squares, and once everything is under control, then c3 is not going to survive. I mean, if you put a knight on e4, then c3 is as good as dead. So knight b7, I guess rook d7 check is the only move that is worth looking at, because if he doesn't do it, you're going to go knight d6 and knight d4. And now, what do you think you should play here?
Well, you would think king g8. It kind of puts my king in a corner, but my bishop is controlling e7. And the only way for him to really come down would be to slide his other rook over to c7. But he can never really come in here because the pawn is controlling this square for his third rank rook, and then the bishop is controlling this entry square. So I think I might actually be pretty safe on g8.
Yeah, you could go king g8. I don't know about rook e3 and his intention of going to e8, maybe, with the rook.
What? Rook. Oh.
King g8, rook e3 with
and then
the
rook.
idea.
Oh yeah. That's annoying, man. It's similar to what happened. Yeah, I'm missing it again. Those rooks are sneaky.
Yeah, once they start working together, they create some tactical threats that the problem is that they weren't even there just a couple of moves before, and all of a sudden they start creating all of these threats. It's really annoying. One good rule is that in the end game, if you can send the king to the center, then you probably should. And now king e6 actually hits the rook, so he has to move it. The most natural, I guess, is just taking on h7. Then you get what you wanted. The knight is going to get to e4 finally, and both pawns are just falling
I got too greedy. I didn't want him to take the pawn, and I wanted to keep everything and take everything. I'm so materialistic, man.
Still, after rook takes a2, you are winning. You're still winning.
Yeah. Well, I looked at this with Stockfish carefully, and I was amazed. There's a really, really weird way to defend, which you might have looked at the very end.
Yeah, I thought you had to bring your rook back. I thought your mistake was going for this pawn too. You're still not losing any pieces or anything, and you already have this passed pawn, so maybe going for the c3 pawn too was just too much. But
I'm still okay though. I'm still okay. I looked at this. Even after taking that pawn, I'm okay to the very end. But it's a really weird way that I could have defended, but there's no way I would have found that.
That's a problem with. I mean, you're still winning theoretically speaking, but with every inaccuracy, as you see, it gets harder, and you have to be more and more accurate, and that's one problem. I mean, objectively, you played perfectly up to this point. I mean, a computer would never look down on rook takes a2. It'll never look down on bishop takes f3. But there are little details that complicate matters, at least from a human perspective. I mean, good technique is all about making your life easier with the most clear-cut choices. And going for the a2 pawn, well, it gives him some tactical resources that a computer might laugh at them, but we have to be calculating them at every point in the game, and it's really easy to miss something. So he went for rook d7 check. That's right. And yeah, you went back and even after king g8, you are still winning. You can still defend this. Still, I think that king e6 should be the move here too. Or if you consider going with your king to the center, it's more difficult now because you have to tolerate some checks in this variation. It looks kind of strange, but you can actually build a cage for your king. Well, here Stockfish gives a very strange.
I just go to the queen side, right?
Yeah. I don't know why Stockfish prefers this, but in any case, even if he plays king f8, have this road for your knight to e4, and if it was your turn to play, you would play knight d2, and it's pretty much over. Knight e4, bishop d6, hitting this pawn, and it's hopeless for white. But he still has this check, and I can understand that this looks a little bit weird and tricky. I mean, king d5, rook d7 check. It looks ugly, but you have bishop d6, and you have built a cage for your king, and there are no checks, and there are no possible threats by white. Actually, I think you're threatening king c6, hitting the rook and the f4 pawn, so he's the one in trouble here. But it's funny looking. That's what I'm saying. There are very clear-cut ways with perfect calculation to win this, but it has become a little bit strange. I mean, you have to find things like this where this bishop d6, kind of going into a self pin. White has nothing, but yeah, it's not so easy to calculate, I guess. Rook d7, so you went for king g8. You played rook e3, and well, now there is a real threat. He's going rook e8, rook d8. Have to start running. Here you saw what Stockfish said for the defense.
Yeah, but I think it was still possible later. I think I the weird thing is I think you can and I could you can always run this way, but the idea is I think I forget if we end up sacking the rook, but the whole point is I know that we have to take this pawn and create
Yeah,
an
and
escape
there was
route.
one moment you had the opportunity to do that after rook a1, rook f1. Yeah. Now the easiest way, I guess, is to bring your pieces back. Rook b2 and rook b7. It's changed, or trying to. It's changed one pair of rooks because well, all he has this idea of rook e8 and rook d8, and that's pretty much
Are
all
are
there
you
is.
thinking of here and then here?
Yeah, I know it looks weird, but you're going
No.
to untangle
Yeah.
slowly but surely,
Yeah, I didn't see
and
that.
you still
Yeah.
have this extra. Yeah, rook b2 seems at least the most natural from a human point of view. You want to keep your pieces,
What about
and
rook e6?
rook e6. Oh, that's interesting. Rook takes the idea. Well, I guess we have to play rook b7 either way. Probably.
Sort of scary.
Rook takes.
Which
Well,
way?
now,
Probably this way, right?
yeah, but now it's a stable advantage. If you get to e4, I guess it's over for him.
Yeah, I mean black should be a lot better here, right?
Yeah, this pawn is condemned. Um, if it was your turn, you'd play knight e4, and c3 is falling. And if he wants to keep this pawn threatened, his rook is kind of committed to waiting on a4 too, so you can just
Yeah,
go
that
with your king to d5.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're winning. And well, with one rook, he's
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
do any
It could
harm.
be, yeah. Okay.
You only need to trade one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, the main variation might run e8, rook b7, rook e8, as you said, and rook f7. And it seems strange and looks like you are all restricted and all, but now you have a clear way back with your knight. You can even
Mhm.
go to d3, and he's running out of gas.
What about rook? Yeah, rook
Rook
a8.
there. Now I might prefer to go to b7. I'm not so sure. I also like king g7 just for the fact that I'm pinning the bishop. And if rook takes, I was really thinking about knight b7, but I'm not so sure because I don't get to play knight d6 because of rook takes a fake, which I'm also not so sure about because the, you're still 2 pawns up. And knight b3 looks fine. The thing is, once you put both rooks under control, then uh, it's just a matter of bringing your knight back to action, and that's all he's going to get. Uh, Now you can also consider playing rook e7, and he has the alternative of uh, it's changing rooks, and well, he's not going to have enough resources. Uh, or he has to move, and then your rook activates too. So I guess this is winning, and you get to keep your bishop. uh, so maybe rook c2 was just too much. He went for rook e8, and now you took on c3.
I'm greedy.
Uh, you
um,
went for both pawns. Rook takes a2, rook c2.
yeah. Well,
You went
because
up.
I think first of all, I think I had about 2 minutes or like a minute and a half here. But I mean,
So you were trying to
but I mean,
eliminate all.
I didn't see this weird resource. I thought this was inevitable, so I was just trying to get as I thought this was the only move really for me.
Oh, okay.
I thought he's going to take this. I'm going to try to tuck away somewhere, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense because you're eliminating all the pawns. You're getting a pass pawn, and you're going
Yeah.
to be only and it's changed down, but well, not changed down because you have a lot of pawns for this change. But uh, it's a shame that your king is also kind of in trouble.
Oh, yeah. It
Otherwise, he
was
would be
yes.
just
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a very simple finish.
yeah. Rook f1 was a big resource,
Yeah, that's what the computer liked. Yeah.
which is not easy at all,
No, no,
especially
especially with a minute left. Yeah.
yeah. It actually looks scary because am I getting mated
Mm-hmm.
or am I
And
promoting
yeah,
the
and he
top?
didn't know either. He didn't know. We both didn't know because we were both short on time. We didn't know if this was good or bad, and we both didn't. We were both scared to play it because so like so I don't think in the game I don't think I actually ever go to h6. It was too risky because I didn't have the time to calculate it.
Yeah, and it happens that everything works perfectly, but well,
Yeah.
by a hair because this move, I guess, this move is just too important. He doesn't get to give a check on d7, and he goes rook g8, king h6, rook d7, then the rook on g8 still is in contact with the pawn, and you get to play knight d4, and you're just in time to give this check and
Mm.
eliminate this pawn. That's the one that's giving you mate. So yeah, it was all very narrow, a narrow escape. Well, it's escape, and you also win. Well, the computer suggests just c3. Yeah, well, it wasn't really easy to go for this. I mean, C3 is natural, as natural as it gets. rook takes king g7. And now he made a losing move. It's incredible, but it's losing.
Losing. Oh yeah. Well, I think I can still. Computer, I think said I could go here, and I can still go. I can still
Yeah,
do this.
yeah,
Um,
it's funny that rook g8, the most natural move in the world, is losing. And he had to go for rook fe8. Well, actually, we get to something like this in the game. And yeah, now he's starting to play rook d7 and rook e7, and he's hanging up on this path very fast. Uh, rook g8 check actually pushed you to a good square. It's funny to talk about h6 as a good square for the king, but it is.
I didn't
Listen,
play.
and yeah.
I didn't play rook h6 though, right?
What?
I
You
didn't play
didn't
rook
play?
h6
No,
though, right?
no, you played
Yeah, that's what I thought.
king,
Yeah,
king,
yeah, yeah.
king
I was too
h7.
scared to play rook h6.
Yeah,
I know that
it
it's
looks
either.
like,
I know that I'm either winning or losing with it, but I didn't want to take that risk.
yeah, on what end we are. It would be horrible to lose
Yeah.
this way, especially after being ahead all the game.
Mm-hmm.
And now he went for perpetual,
Yeah.
and well, the game finished in a draw, and it's actually, I think it's a draw if he plays rook f8. Though it's complex, I guess you have to go back. Um, it was very interesting. I mean, uh, this
It.
game shows is that when we make little inaccuracies, especially if they start to crop up, might still be winning, but the path is getting narrower and narrower. And the more narrow it gets, the trickier it is to find the right moves. You're still winning, but it looks complex. I mean, king h6 has to be calculated very precisely. And yeah, it's not good in practice. uh, but apart from that, I really like that. Well, you played very well against because he didn't have any outposts for his knight. His bishop was horrible for most of the game, so a very nice game with an unfortunate finish, but very
Yeah,
nice game.
I was disappointed, but it wasn't the worst thing. I was black, and a draw. I mean, at a tournament, a draw is not so bad. I mean, in a 5 round Swiss, it's kind of bad, but I mean, it's better than a loss. It was disappointing, but not the end of the world.
No, of course, and it was a rich game, important. A lot happened in it, uh, and you were dominating throughout. It was a very nice game. I wanted to go if I had time, uh, at least to take a look at the last of games because, well, you played very well, and the final position actually still gives a lot
Oh,
of.
I know, and Stockfish loves
Yeah,
it. Stockfish gives it like -2.
yeah, yeah, and I especially want to see why Stockfish loves that position.
Also, this
It
opponent
was very.
Tyler Fowler, he goes to almost all the same tournaments that I do, so I will definitely see him again. In fact, he's registered to the next tournament I'm going to in a week and a half from now,
Uh,
and he's just two seeds down from me. I think I'm number 4 and he's number 6, so we might even play again in this upcoming tournament.
he's going to be a Fitz rival.
Yeah,
Going to be a
yeah, the
Fitz.
battle of the Tylers. Yeah.
Yeah. Knight f6, bishop e2, and you went from for a fianchetto. I'm
I
very
know,
proud.
I know, I know. This is one of the rare times I will do it because I know this is the delayed Alapin, and
Yeah, it's
I know that the top book move, and also I ran like I'm very and like I really study openings a lot, and I know that also Stockfish prefers G6 here too. This is one of the rare
yeah,
times I'll do a kingside fianchetto.
it's best because knight c6 runs into d4, and it's very theoretical. Actually, not it doesn't have good results for white.
Yeah, and I think the dark squared bishop in this is really hard to do anything useful.
Yeah, and now he has to deal with e4. No, not now because in a for check, but in the future he has to deal with that pawn. So his plan of playing for d4 just has to wait. You castle. It's kind of that necessary. I mean, it's not like you're going to go for now. Knight b7. Well, maybe knight c6 is more natural because knight is more active there, but it's not the end of the world. You had a clear plan here too. You played a6, 5. So.
Oh yeah, I remember talking about. I was like, "What the hell were you doing with knight a3?" And he really defended it. Like he defended his idea of knight a3. Yeah, his idea was to put it kind of like a Roy Lopez transfer almost. So it doesn't quite work because you can't get it to g3. But yeah, he really liked that, but I didn't think it was very good.
Sometimes this maneuver exists. I don't really like it now because, well, you're still going for b5 and I don't know what a6 b5 and that's kind of misplay. If he goes here, he's still not defending e4, so he's not going to play d4 either way.
Yeah, and I was also when he played it, I'm like, what the hell is he trying to do? And I thought maybe he might actually be trying to go for b4, like rook b1, b4. So I actually briefly considered a5, but then that looked terrible for me after a while. So after a long think, I think I went a6.
A6 is fine. I mean b5 and that knight doesn't look good there. And still he has this problem that the pawn is going to be undefended, goes d4. So it's not comfortable for him. I like the fact that you allowed bishop h because it takes a lot of time for him to exchange this bishop, and you get a good game on the queen side.
Yeah, I mean, it scared the hell out of me. I was really scared of this, but I figured like he can't like because the knight on g5 is always very scary, but I just didn't see how he could put me in trouble here. I just felt I'm actually safe, so I thought, okay, let him spend the tempi to do that.
Yeah, he doesn't have the pieces for an attack. That's clear. I mean, he has a knight on the other side of the board. This bishop doesn't do anything, and you're pretty solid, so nothing bad should happen to you. And he's spending a lot of time to exchange that bishop. It's changed. I mean, this bishop is actually very powerful, but in the meantime, you're making very useful moves. So I'm not all too worried about that exchange. And d5 here. Now the game sharpens up. Bishop takes, king takes, it takes. And well, knight takes d5, you might have considered c4. So I like your decision to take bishop here. C4.
Man, I burned a lot of time on the next few moves. I like a lot of time.
It's a good time to burn some time. I like your approach. I mean, yeah, I know Stockfish says before is an inaccuracy, and I don't see why. I mean, the best he has probably is c takes d5, but you're fine after that too. Actually, Stockfish suggests bishop takes f3, which is a move I would never make probably. I know after bishop takes, rook a b8, yeah, this pawn is backward. You can try to play queen d6. It might be an idea, but it's difficult to play like that.
Yeah, I never would have played that. Didn't even give it consideration.
You're playing just to leave this bishop hitting in air after rook a b8 because now that you got to you take your rook from a8, we could argue that this bishop is not doing very much, and if you get to play queen d6 and double on the d5, this pawn on d3 is going to have problems. So it's a valid approach, but I like your approach. b4 is fine. C, well, he went for knight c2. C takes d5, b takes a3, and you're still trying to go for queen d6 and take d5 and leaving him with that uh, backward pawn on d3, but he should go for d4, and this is dynamically balanced. I mean, I don't think you're worse at all here. Still, this knight is kind of floating there on the air, so even though it's pretty safe on on a dark square, a pawn on b6 would be of very much help. But you're doing fine here. I don't think you're doing bad at all. But he played knight c2, and you got a very nice blockade. I really like how you played here. d4, a5, and d5, knight e4. Exactly. Behind, you're going to put your knight just in front of
Yep.
this pawn,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to block it, and you're much better here. fd1, a4. Well, this is kind of very. This is very subtle. I mean, the computer doesn't like a4 because he can kind of improve his queen, but I don't think that that's too much for him. Well, knight c1 is very slow actually. He's going for d3, but then again, the knight on d3 is also on the way of his own piece, of the bishop, of the rook. So he's kind of. You see, in both games, your opponent made some very strange moves in knight. a3. I like this approach. We close the queen side, but this pawn could be a real force in pretty much any endgame.
Yeah.
And now you go for rook e8, and you're going to break on his, and your pieces are so much better deployed here. Knight h2 is strange, but he might be going for. And after e6, it was declared a draw.
Yeah, you thought
In
I didn't finish inputting the moves. So what I did was I made my move, I hit the clock, and as I was writing down my move, I said I offer draw, and my opponent thought for about 2 minutes, and then he's like, okay, yeah, good draw. So.
Oh, he still thought about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No,
what a guy.
Well, we weren't. I mean, as I told you before, the reason is because I was tired. I had 3 hours sleep the night before, and I was feeling it was a really cold room. I wasn't feeling that great, and I was just kind of tired. But at the same time, I didn't like my bishop. That was a real concern for me. I mean, my plan here was after e6 was to double up the rooks, and then break through somehow. But I don't know. I guess I got scared.
Yeah. Well, that can be filed under the fear of ghosts category. You're doing very well here. I mean, his pieces are all target, especially the ones on the e file. I mean, these sets raise have to worry him at this point. And you're so well coordinated here. You're actually threatening to. And your bishop is going to be free, and it's going to be very much alive after these pawns disappear. I guess he has to take, because if you take, then there's also a target here on d5. So
the funny thing is, when I offered the draw, I was really hoping that he would accept. So I was begging for a draw.
So that's funny. You're doing very well here. I really like your. Uh, you also have ideas of playing knight f5. If basically yours, it's for you to occupy with your piece. And well, now you kind of have to untangle your knights, but then, this is ugly for him. Your bishop is way better than his. And as we said, in many endgames, the advanced pawns on a3 is going to giving him a lot of help. uh, yeah, it's a shame that it was a draw at this point. It's not still not a one game.
Hmm.
It's not even close to it, so it's not such a crazy result. But but still, you could perfectly play on perfectly from here. What I want to extract as a positive from this game. Uh, up to this point, you played great. I really like all of your maneuvers. I like the fact that you used the blockade and still you put your pieces in such a way that is possible, which is a very strong break. Um, you you kind of took advantage very well of slow play on the opening. You put all your pieces where they belong. So it's a very nice game. It ended abruptly, but it's a very nice game overall.
Alessandro, it's very hard to it's hard to climb rating, man. I've been to like 9 or maybe 9 tournaments in a bit over a year, and I don't even come close to like third place. My rating only goes down. Like after this tournament, my rating actually went down, 1381. It's a little frustrating.
Yeah, but I have to say one thing. If you keep playing in these sections, it's not such a strange outcome. I mean, you see the play from your opponents. Well, they are not 1,200 players, 1,300 players. I mean, those ratings are just absurdly. I mean, they play a lot better than that. Uh, and you do too. I mean, a player, a 1,300 players should be hanging left and the right. And you're all playing games that have some strategic and some positional complexity, and uh, and that doesn't uh, add up if we see the rate. And you're going to encounter a lot of young players, very low ratings, and well, they are improving very
Yeah,
fast. So
but I in my
these
in
sections are like,
the thing is, in my section, it's not just the kids. Like, for example, the two games we just looked at, Simon Smith and Tyler Fowler, they're both like Tyler Fowler is about my age, and Simon Smith is like Fowler is maybe he's 5 years younger than me, and Simon Smith is maybe 5 years older than me. Um, but Simon Smith, I think this is like his third tournament, and Tyler Fowler, he's maybe it's his like fifth tournament. So not fully established ratings yet. And I know that everyone is underrated, but it's still kind of frustrating to not make any
yeah,
progress. You know what I mean?
especially especially since your standard of play was a lot better. I was happy to see your games in this tournament, and they're also very short tournaments, so just kind of no time. I mean, you went undefeated
Yeah,
and
that's
you
that's
lost
something. I didn't
rating
lose.
points,
Yeah.
and you still lost rating points.
Yeah.
Very, it's very odd. But your standard, I really like your standard of play. I think it was quite higher. You did something uh, maybe in games from previous tournaments I didn't see you do. So yeah, it was. So when do you have your next tournament?
I'm leaving on the 14th, so Valentine's Day,
14th.
and
Okay.
I'll be back on Monday. So I'll be gone for 4 days. I'm going a day early because it'll be about a 4 hour trip. I have to take a 2 hour ferry to the mainland, and then driving and everything. So I'm leaving a day early because otherwise I have to wake up at like 4 a.m. And then play 2 games. So I'm leaving a day early, and then it'll be 1 game on. Oh wait, no, it's 2 games per day. Yeah, then it'll be 2 games per day. So 6-round tournament. Yeah,
and that's better.
Yeah, and the section I'll be in is under 1500, which won't really make much of a difference because everyone is still underrated. So, but yeah, I'm in under 1500 section, and there's 4 sections at that tournament. It's kind of a big tournament. There's going to be probably at least 200 players there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the BC Open, so like the provincial Open.
Oh.
And then in April, I already registered and booked my hotel for my tournament in April, which is my favorite tournament of the year. That's it's another 6-round tournament, but it's kind of it's in a really nice venue, and it's a really nice. There's computer screens up and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's in April.
So you're all booked.
Yeah. Well, and then the month after that is another big tournament. The Carey's Memorial.
The one you played.
Yes, the one that I always do terribly at. Yeah, that's in May, and that's another 6 round.
That's going to change.
We'll see. Yeah, so next week I'll still be here, I think. Yeah, next week I'll still be here, but then the week after that I'll have 6 more games for us to look over.
That's great. We're just in time to read the stock of games because we just went through all of them.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, yeah, well, thank you again. With every week, I do appreciate your lessons, and I do think they make a difference because I think that one of the key points you mentioned in a lot of your teachings is, for me, like I really notice a difference in basically just squares, weak squares, strong squares, square control. I think that's a difference since I started lessons.
Yeah, I see that you're calculating the path for your knight, and you want to put it on e4. Yeah, I reasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll continue next week. And thank you again,
Tyler.
and have a good night.
Bye-bye.